Hey guys, Mike and Davina here from MasterYourMix.com, and if you've ever looked at pictures of big studios, or you've watched any tutorials online, or heck, even just gone through your plugin list, chances are extremely high that you've come across the 1176 compressor. Now, so many people love these compressors, but what makes them so special? Well, that's exactly what we're going to cover inside of this video here. So let's start from the very beginning and talk about the design of this style of compressor. So back in the day, most compressors were built using tubes or photo-optical technology. And the problem with this kind of technology is that it reacts very slowly to incoming audio signal. So it became an issue with people who wanted to tame the transients, people who wanted to reduce the amount of attack on their drums, for example. These older style compressors were actually too slow to handle that signal and to tame it the way that people wanted. So eventually the FET or FET style compressor was invented without using any of that old technology. And what that allowed for is a much faster reacting compressor. And that is one of the reasons why people really love the 1176, because it is super fast. The average attack time of an older style opto compressor like an LA2A is actually about 10 milliseconds. But with the 1176, it has a ridiculously fast attack time. It actually ranges from 20 to 800 microseconds. So it is much faster and allows you to have much more control of the transients in your mix. So this is great for when you really want to level out something, or you just want to soften up the attack of something. Plus, the fact that the attack time is variable gives engineers a lot more control for dialing in precise settings, which previously they didn't really have the option for with those older style compressors. So here's an example of a drum track, and I'm just going to pull up the snare drum and I'll play it first without any compression on it so you can hear what it sounds like. So it sounds alright, it's got a little bit of poke to it. But now let's bring in the 1176 and let me show you just how fast it really is. So let me bring this in, and the very first thing that I want to bring to your attention when it comes to the 1176, and this is a mistake that I see a lot of people make, is that they often get their attack and release controls backwards. Now, on most compressors, typically you'll see the controls go from fastest to slowest. But on the 1176, it's actually backwards. Instead, 7 is the fastest time, and 1 is the slowest time. So this is something you need to keep in mind when you're setting your attack and release settings, so that you can make sure that you're either preserving the transient that you want, or you can control it a little bit better by adjusting these settings. So right now I've got this compressor set at a ratio of 4:1, and let's start off with a fast attack time. So you can hear that it's really trimming off the beginning of that transient. You're not getting quite as much smack of the stick. Let me bypass that so you can compare it. So it really softens up the blow of the stick attack. Now, let me bring this back a little bit and go a little bit slower, and let's see what we get out of it. So with a slower attack speed, we can bring out a little bit more of the transient. So this is one of the reasons why people love this compressor, is because you have that flexibility in there. You can really make the decision of whether or not you want to keep that transient information in there, or if you want to control it a little bit better, make it a little bit softer in the context of your mix. Now let's compare it to an LA2A, for example, and let's listen to what this sounds like. So here it is first bypassed. And now I'll bring it in. So you can hear that with this, it's got a slower attack time. So it's allowing much more of that transient to come through. And on this compressor, we don't have the ability to change our settings. So we're kind of locked into the settings of the compressor. So again, that's a big reason why people love the 1176, because it allows you to control the attack and release speeds and have much more flexibility. Whereas this older opto style compressor only has a slow attack, and it doesn't have the flexibility that you might need in order to dial in the optimal settings for your particular mix. The other great thing about the 1176 is that because of its FET style design, it actually infuses some extra distortion into your mixes and then onto the tracks that you're compressing. And this can actually be a pleasing sound, especially with things like vocals or drums, when having a little bit of extra distortion can give it some extra grit or extra energy. And with singers, this is a great tool for adding a little bit of extra attitude into somebody's voice. And when you slam it hard with an 1176, it'll make the singer's voice sound like they're just giving it a little extra hard and that they're pushing a little bit harder with their voice. And that can really add a lot of energy to your tracks. Now, when you compare that to something like a VCA style compressor, which is very clean, you don't get any of that extra character out of it. It may control the dynamics, but it's not going to add any extra grit to your tracks. And so that's one reason why a lot of people love the 1176 style, because it allows people to tame the transients, but also get a little extra character and add some extra coloration to their sound. And to add to that, there's also been a lot of different versions of the 1176. There's the classic blue stripe style, which was the original, and that one's got a lot of extra energy, a lot of extra attitude and grit that it can add to a mix, and it's got a higher noise floor. But this is the go-to compressor for a lot of people when it comes to vocals because it really does bring out a lot of that aggression. Then there's also the blackface style, which had a lower noise floor, but it also adds this really nice round tone to things like bass guitars and kick drums. So just by playing around with different versions of the 1176, you can get different characteristics out of your sounds. And that's why many plugin companies have designed so many different versions of 1176 plugins, because they're trying to make it sound like all of the different versions of 1176s that are available. So you can get a lot of different flavor. So now let me show you an example of how the 1176 can infuse some extra character into your vocals. So here's a vocal, and I'm just going to bypass this first so you can hear the vocal on its own.
Saving grace inside these walls. Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll.
So the nice thing about the 1176 is that when you put it in and you slam it really hard, you get some really cool distortion characteristics out of it that bring out a little bit of extra attitude in the voice. So let's listen to it. I've got the blue stripe version of the 1176, and then I'll later show you the blackface version of it too, so you can get a sense of how each of these is a little bit different. So first, let's go with the blue stripe, and I'm slamming it really hard, and you'll see that the needle just pins here. But listen to the voice, especially at the beginning of the words. You're going to hear a lot more grit coming out of his voice.
Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll.
Just sounds like he's pushing it a little harder, right? Let me bypass it, and then I'll do it one more time with it in so you can hear that grit.
Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll. Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll.
So it really pushes the vocals right in front, makes it sound like it's in your face, and gives it a lot of extra energy, which in this particular mix, it's a punk song, so that really helps and gives it a lot more attitude and grit. So now let's compare that to the blackface version of the 1176, and let's hear the differences between the two.
Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll.
So it's pretty close to the other one. It's still got that extra grit, but not quite as aggressive as the blue. So let me switch back and forth between them. Here's the black one first.
Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll.
And the blue.
Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll.
The blue just has a little bit more grit, and you'll notice it right in the very first word.
Gotta step into your life. Gotta step into your life.
The black version's just a little bit more rolled off and a little bit more tame. So this is a perfect example of why you might want to use an 1176 to bring out a little bit of extra character to your vocal. And when we compare that to something like a VCA style compressor, let's listen to the difference between the two. So I've got a DBX 160, this is a VCA style compressor, and I'm hitting it pretty hard as well, and let's listen to this.
Gotta step into your life. 36, you're on a roll.
And let me bypass that.
Gotta step into your life. 36.
Now I'll bring it in halfway so you can hear the difference.
Gotta step into your life. 36 are on a roll.
So we got a little extra volume in here, but you'll notice it's pretty transparent. It's not really adding the same grit at the beginning of the lines as the 1176 was. So let me play it with the VCA style compression first, and then I'll bring in the 1176 so you can hear the difference between the two.
Gotta step into your life.
So that was the VCA. Now we'll go back to the 1176.
Gotta step into your life. 36 are on a roll.
So to show you an even bigger change, let's go back to the blue stripe and compare that to the VCA. So here's the VCA style first.
Gotta step into your life. 36 are on a roll.
And now the blue stripe.
Gotta step into your life. 36 are on a roll.
So definitely a lot more grit from the 1176. Lastly, one other feature of the 1176 that makes it really unique is its all buttons in mode, which is a very famous mode. But basically, with all buttons in mode, when you press all of the different ratio buttons on the 1176, you get this incredible distorted sound that it has a little bit of a lag in terms of how it responds to the transients, but it just makes things sound really explosive and can push things really in your face. And this is a really handy tool for when you're working with things like room mics on drums, or even if you want to get a vocal sitting right in your face and feeling very aggressive. So by playing around with the all buttons in mode, you can get this really unique characteristic that you just can't find with other compressors. So it's one of the features of the 1176 that really gives it its own unique personality and that makes it stand out from all of the other compressors available. So just to show you the magic of the all buttons in mode, here is a drum track that I've got, and I've got the room mics with no effects or anything on it here. So let's listen to them dry. So they don't sound too bad. But now let's bring in this Universal Audio Rev A Blue Stripe 1176. And this is similar to the Waves one that I showed you earlier, but just a different option here. And with this one here, when you want to go in all buttons in mode, all you have to do is just hold Shift and you press down on all of the buttons that you want to use. So now we're in the all buttons in mode. You can see they're all pressed in. And let's listen to how much energy and excitement all buttons in mode adds to these room tracks. So definitely adds a lot more grit, a lot more intensity. When we bypass that, I'll bring it back in and you can hear the difference. And you'll notice that the volume actually isn't even that much louder, it's just more consistent, if anything. It just adds a lot of extra attitude and size and weight to the drums and makes them sound so much more full and offers some really cool movement with the track too. So this is why so many people love this all buttons in mode, because it gives such a unique character that you don't typically get with other compressors. So there you have it. You can see exactly why so many people love this compressor. It offers so much flexibility and can add some great character to your mix and just beef everything up a little bit. It's no wonder why so many engineers love this compressor. So I hope that you found this video very helpful, and if you did and you want to take an even deeper dive into the world of compression, below this video I'm going to have a link for you for a free download. It is for my compression cheat sheet. Now, inside of this cheat sheet, you're going to learn all about how to quickly dial up settings for drums, bass, guitar, vocals, and I'm going to tell you what kind of compressor types to use, how to set your ratios, your attack settings, release settings, how much gain reduction you should have. This is all about helping you work quick and create great results within your mix. So make sure to click on the link below this video to download your free copy today. And while you're at it, make sure to visit MasterYourMix.com. That's a website where every week I have all new tutorials and podcasts and courses and a whole bunch of other great resources designed to help you create great mixes with ease. So once you're on the mailing list there, every week you'll get updated with all of the new videos and all of the new content, and My goal here is to help you create great mixes and put more music out in the world. So make sure to visit MasterYourMix.com to find out more there. And lastly, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and leave a comment below. Let me know, what is your favorite 1176 plugin and what is it about that plugin that you really like? So leave your comment below and I'll talk to you in the next video. Take care, guys.